OK, let's turn our attentions to Andy Robertson then, because he says his future at Liverpool hasn't been decided yet, with his contract set to expire in the summer. Now, Robertson also admits he's been frustrated by his lack of playing time. The Liverpool vice-captain remains in talks with the club over a new contract and insisted a change in his role this season has not diminished his desire to play. Now, Robertson had a chance to move to Atletico Madrid last summer, but opted to stay after the club, of course, won a second Premier League title in the space of 5 years. This is what Robertson had to say. I've got 5 months left and we need to see the option to stay or if there's options to go. I need to see what myself and my family want moving forward. I've given absolutely everything for the club for the last 8.5 years and the club have been very good to me. I do have a different role here this season, which I'm getting enjoyment out of, but at the end of the day, footballers want to play, and if anyone is sat happy on the bench, then they don't belong at a football club. Maybe I've not played as much as I would have liked, but it's nothing I've been surprised by. Let's see, he says, what happens. So, did we see this one coming? Do you think?
I mean, there were signs of a potential exit, and you alluded to it there when you were talking about Robertson and Atletico Madrid, because last summer, when Milos Kerkez made the move from Bournemouth to Liverpool, I think Andrew Robertson knew then, well, is my game time going to be limited at Anfield now? And Atletico Madrid did come in with an offer, and Andy Robertson has since said that there was a chance that he could have gone to Atletico Madrid, but he decided it wasn't right for him or his family at that stage of his career. He wanted to stay and fight for his place at Anfield. Of course, since that move hasn't happened in the summer, Milos Kerkez has been the preferred option for Arne Slot in that left-back area. And Andrew Robertson has started just 4 Premier League games so far this season. So I think what will have to happen is he will take a look at what happens for the rest of the season. Those talks, as you mentioned, over a new contract are continuing. But if the situation arises where the game time is still limited, I think Andrew Robertson himself will have a decision to make, regardless of whether Liverpool decide to offer him a new contract or not come the summer, because he has still said he's got the hunger and the appetite to play. He's still 31 years old. I think he's 32 in a couple of months. So he's still got plenty of games left in him, and he's still got the desire, clearly, to play at the highest level. He's got the World Cup with Scotland coming up as well. He's the captain of Scotland, isn't he, in the summer? So I think his focus for now, for the rest of his contract as it stands at Liverpool, he'll be there until the end of the season, and then on the World Cup. And then I will think he'll take a step back and say, what would be best for my career and my family moving forward? It's
interesting because I know we're talking about the end of the season, but can they afford to lose him at the moment? Because wasn't it Arne Slot who came out the other day and said, hang on, I need more in defence?
Yeah, they're struggling for defensive options right now. Darmish is right to point out that he's only started 4 Premier League games this season, but he's played 20 times in all competitions. He's clearly still an important squad player this season. He's in quite an interesting position because it's clear that he has been replaced by Milos Kerkez, but you wonder how valuable that experience he has is going to be for Liverpool moving forward. He's still a really good left-back. He's not quite the player he was when he burst onto the scene at Liverpool. He's not going to get those similar opportunities, you wouldn't think. So it's up to Andy Robertson, if Liverpool do indeed offer him a contract, whether he's happy to be a squad player at one of the biggest clubs in the world, or he sees himself being a key player for another big club. I think Liverpool are going to be in a situation either way where they need to make a decision in terms of trying to extend Andy Robertson's contract for 1 or 2 years, or in the summer you think they would have to buy another left-back because we've got Kostas Tsimikas coming back from his loan spell. I don't think his future remains at Anfield. I think he left because he wants more first-team opportunities. So it's whether financially it makes more sense. If they still think Andy Robertson is at a level that can compete at left-back for Liverpool when required, whether they try and keep him on, and that wouldn't cost a transfer fee, or you spend what would be a significant amount of money to sign a Milos Kerkez deputy.
It really does feel like that area of the pitch in defence for Liverpool is going to be so key for them. Maybe even in this month, but definitely in the summer, because if Andrew Robertson is no longer at the club, Ibrahima Konate, even though there are talks over a new contract, he's into the final 6 months of his contract as well. Virgil van Dijk is getting a little bit older, even though he has signed a new contract. They will want to get players in the central defensive positions, and now, of course, at full-back as well. So definitely an area to watch for Liverpool and could be a big priority for them come the summer.
Yeah, and you know, I'm going to be sneaky and sort of talk about this window as well, because we're only on the 15th. So potentially, if there are talks, and this is perhaps a little ironic that this has come out now, that he's still not sure about his future. Could it prompt him to go? They get the money for him and they could still spend that money in defence in this period at all? Do you think they could make a signing in this window, or do you think this is just about the summer?
There'll always be alert to any opportunities that there are there for Liverpool. I think regardless of whether Andrew Robertson was to leave in this transfer window or not, because just say, for example, he stays, but Liverpool have the inkling that actually it's going to come to an end in the summer. We've always been talking about long-term targets, haven't we? And unique market opportunities. So maybe if they had a left-back in mind that they wanted to bring in to challenge Milos Kerkez for the long term, and he became available in this transfer window, then who's to say that Liverpool couldn't act in this transfer window for that position as well as the other central defensive areas that they're looking at?
Got a name for Newcastle fans possibly as a centre-back option, and we've got a little part here which is basically who needs what or who needs who, because Andy's picked out 3 players that he feels should go to certain clubs. Let's start with Danilo Duki from Union Berlin, who you think would be a good fit for Newcastle.
Yeah, and he's been of interest to Villa and Leeds already. Dutch centre-back who's been really good for them in recent years. Tall, dominating, decent on the ball, gets his share of goals from set pieces as well because of his size. He feels like someone who's low cost, only 6 months left on his contract. They're in a comfortable position in the Bundesliga, so I think they would be open to making something from him as well. And he's at the age where he wants to make a big move.
Could he be a starter when everyone's fit for them, if they've got Botman, if they've got Chow, if they've got Dan Burn, if all of their centre-backs are fit? That's
a question, because Fabian Schär is not long-term for them, even when he comes back. You know, he's into his 30s now, and it's great that he signed to stay at the club this summer. But at some point, they're going to have to move on from him and Burn. We don't know if we can completely rely on Sven Botman at the moment, because he's had quite a lot of injuries since he's been there. And I think that's what's allowed Malik Thiaw to become such an important part of the team already. And that's why it's such a brilliant move, because at Milan he had his good bits, he had his less good bits. But now he's arrived at somewhere where he feels important. But they definitely need cover. Probably 2 centre-backs, I think, if you're looking beyond the summer.
A lot of teams want this guy, well, Mark Guehi. The question is whether it's in January, whether it's in the summer. Where do you think he should go?
City have to go all the way for him this month, for me. Now, obviously, if you're Mark Guehi, you're probably more sensible waiting until the summer, having your pick from really anywhere you want. City have got to make themselves irresistible. And I think when you look at where they are, you look at the fact that Ruben Dias remains a formidable central defender, but has had his fitness and form problems over the last little while. John Stones, we never know if we're getting real John Stones back. Get someone to build your defence around. And he's the guy.
Yeah. Will he go January or in the summer?
Summer, definitely. Again, Oliver Glasner didn't want to sell him in the summer, wanted him for this year. I don't see him relinquishing his captain for the next 6 months. He's a true professional, Mark Guehi. I think what's interesting, though, it's been, 2 weeks since the January window's open. He's been open and had opportunities to discuss a contract with clubs outside of England. Well, we haven't heard of anything moving on that front. Now, that surprises me, or certainly tells me that perhaps his future is in this country, which leads you to Manchester City, leads you to Liverpool.
Well don't also Liverpool need him just as badly as Manchester City?
Matt, Liverpool needed him in the summer. You know, it's pretty clear. It was obvious, I think, for many they needed him in the summer. Maybe it was obvious a bit too late for Liverpool, hence why they left it so last minute. I have no doubts that will be a regret for Arne Slot and the Liverpool hierarchy that they didn't get that one over the line. He would have made a huge difference to that side. Now Liverpool are going to face competition from Manchester City and Arsenal, who are also showing interest in signing him in the summer. So watch this space. It could be a fire sale. Everybody looking for him.
OK, further up the pitch, Tammy Abraham. Now, we spoke yesterday, potential links that have been reported between Tammy Abraham and Aston Villa. He's currently at Besiktas. Do you think Villa is the place for him to go?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense, especially since they've lost Donyell Malen. Now, of course, he's a very, very different type of striker, Tammy Abraham, and he's morphed into a different type of striker over the last couple of years since he's recovered from that major injury at Roma. He had that loan at Milan last season, which on paper doesn't look fantastic, but actually in terms of being what Villa need, a striker that doesn't get picked in the 11 every game and yet can hold the ball up, can work incredibly hard and come off the shoulder as well to score a goal. I think he ticks all the boxes for Villa and exactly what they're looking for at the moment. And having a pretty good season in a not great Besiktas team.
There is space now as well with Donyell Marlin on his way.